Cottle needs to leave for an out-of-town meeting, so I would like to move her report and her item of new business to the beginning of our meeting after the consent agenda is considered. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any noes? Thank you, that carries. Is there any public comment? Okay, thank you. Board members, you've had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there
Second.
any discussion? All in favor of the consent agenda, please say yes.
Yes.
Any noes? And that carries also. Okay, we'll start our reports, and Ms. Cottle, if you'll come forward and give us our nutrition bid updates.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Board. I apologize for having to leave. I'm the chair of our Board of Health in Lincoln County, and I have a meeting tonight. I have given you the information about our bids. Again, just to recap, that our dairy is Pet Dairy, our U.S. Foods was changed to Cisco, and the new one is Correction Enterprises doing our chemicals, and I need approvals for all our bids. The only one outstanding is I have done a new bid for our pizza products. We were using Smart Mouth Pizza in the high school, middle schools, and we had a letter in our files that that was a sole source provider, and I'm afraid with our CRE that wouldn't fly, so I have written a new bid and put that out, and I've sent it out to, I think, 6 vendors. So that bid opening will be July 24th here at the Board of Education, and I will bring that to the next board meeting for approval. The other thing is with our meal prices for next year. I know the principals are waiting to hear from that. And our lunch prices will need to go up another 10 cents because we were in that category where each year for 3 years we had to go up 10 cents. So I am asking for approval for that, as well as the other price for our breakfast. And if that's the only thing, I did want to bring to your attention that we are losing, because of our drop in free and reduced, we're losing our free snacks at Ellendale this year, and they'll have to be paid snacks, and we've informed Ellendale of that as well. So
And that is for the after-school care
that's
program?
for the after-school snack program. See, so the only school that is area eligible for any free reimbursement really is at Taylorsville. So if you will approve these, I would appreciate it.
Okay. Board members, you've heard this, what's needed. Do you have a motion to approve the school prices increases and the other things as presented?
Make a motion, we approve as stated.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any noes? Thank you.
Thank you
That
so
carries.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, back to reports, and now I'll call on Miss Angie Charles for an update of the Student Success Center.
Good evening, board members, chairman of the board, Dr. Hefner, everyone else. Thank you for letting me have another chance to talk to you again about the Student Success Center. It seems to be something that I'm a little bit passionate about. So just wanted to kind of talk to you just a little bit about some of the things that we have experienced and been able to do this school year. All the students were promoted, finally, in the end, and all but one student received all their credits. We had 138 sections, and this was some new data that I figured out this school year. We had 138 sections of different courses taught throughout the semester. So what that would mean would be in the same classroom you might have 10 different courses going on at one time, but in the end we had 138 courses that were being covered. We had a destination graduation motto, so that was like an intense focus for us throughout the year. I found that throughout this, those students actually started talking about credits and actually started wanting to see their transcript and actually started really worrying about the fact that they're getting ready to graduate. And we did more emphasis on career readiness and maybe being able to look at workforce development. And we're going to look at that a little more intense next year. I'll talk about that in a minute. We had 7 seniors, and 7 out of our 7 seniors were given the opportunity to graduate. I do not have a picture of every one of them. I could not catch them all. Some had situations going on at home, or maybe became homeless toward the end of the year, and different things happened, and I was unable to catch them at that point. But we had 7 out of 7 to graduate, and were able to actually work with 2 young ladies that had still been at the high school that needed to get through ELA and a math course. So we were able to get them through as well, and they were able to graduate. Ann Herman, once again, did summer school, and she did a great job, phenomenal job. We got 2 senior projects finished, and lots of things that came out of that. I was really excited to see that. We helped, we put, like I said, put more emphasis on workforce development, and we had a higher percentage of students that passed all of their courses this school year. So we were very excited about that. Some celebrations, of course, like I said, all students were promoted. We had 21 suspension days less, and that was something to me that was pretty incredible, because I really wanted to work on how we looked at the discipline and having it be more restorative. Our attendance improved by approximately 50%. I'm still looking at that. I think it might even be higher than that. We had some positive outcomes with the community service provider meeting. I actually started that this school year, and I saw that when everybody came to the table and actually talked about our students, there was a lot more buy-in from all of our community service providers. So it really helped to bring all of them to the table as well. We have an excellent SRO. She is working with students, and it is phenomenal to watch them change their perception of authority. All but 4 students ended up being at a level 5 on our behavior tracking system this school year, which was really powerful for us, because before they would fluctuate quite a bit. We saw more consistency with that. We also did a couple of career-focused field trips, and those were really interesting. We took them to the NASCAR Institute, and they really liked that. We had 2 that were very interested in enrolling at the NASCAR Institute. And then also we did some service provider things with Mobile Cafe, and that ends up, we'll talk about that in just a minute, but that ended up being a partnership for us that was really positive. We served a drug course through communities and schools, and it actually was able to serve, I think it ended up being 19 students from the high school and 12 students from the middle school. And what happened at that point was we were able to, I think the last data I looked at, save 140 suspension days. And what that meant was if they were gonna receive 10 days, they actually were able to receive 5 days instead, through being able to take the drug course and finish up. So that was in partnership with communities and schools, and that really made a big difference. We had 39 total students that came through the doors of SSC this school year, off and on. Not all of them stayed. We ended up with, I think, 22 at the end. We had 28 incidents that involved DSS or DJJ, involvement one way or the other. And with that partnership that we had tried to develop and work really hard to develop, we were able to deal with those situations as a group of people, rather than not being able to help solve the problem for the student. We served several families through a program called Strengthening Families, and that also comes out of communities and schools. So communities and schools has had a lot of involvement at SSC this school year. One of the things, they had 2 sessions with Strengthening Families, and one of the things that I thought was very powerful was the Beta Club students were able to actually get hours during that time and help kind of do community service as well, and they came and watched the little kids of the families who were actually there to take Strengthening Families for their adolescents or teenagers. We have lots of things going on with a couple of external partnerships. McDonald's and Mobile Cafe has been 2 that next year we're hoping to be able to send students to Mobile Cafe monthly. And we're hoping that, she really was impressed with the students that we sent this school year, so we're hoping to be able to do that. And the next was McDonald's, and the interesting thing about that partnership is we were actually able to teach the interview process and go through the whole process. And so she sort of partnered with us, and we were able to hire, or she was able to hire 3 of our students. So that made a big difference. Okay. services or a 504 services, one or the other. And we also have had strong partnership with, like I said, with mental health, and that has been really good. We had them actually come in and train the group home staff because we receive so many students, you know, that come from the group home, and that was a really powerful thing to be able to do. Okay, and the next area that we worked with was art therapy, and we had actually a grant that came through, was Appalachian, and it was the Unifor Foundation, and then we had a gentleman who came who was an artist in residence, and we were able to offer Art 1 as a course this school year, and which that really helped the students. And then in the end result, we were able to have a large group of students who did this huge art exhibit, gallery, whatever we really would like to call it, but it was really, really good experience for them, and it was very therapeutic. We ended up with about 75 people in attendance at the art gallery, so we were very excited that night, and the students were very excited. I think it was the first time we were able to really get them to come back to the school excited about their work. One of our students, who is actually, he lives at the group home near the school, he actually sent his work to be placed in the superintendent and associate superintendent's office. So he was very excited. Dr. Hefner wrote him a note, and he kept that in his binder all the rest of the school. So it was a very positive experience. And I already talked about McDonald's partnership. So the last thing I really wanted to cover was upcoming goals. We have selective students. I want to take selective students. I've spoken with Macy about it just briefly, but I want to take some selective students and do some reading and some peer reading with some Head Start students. So we'll work on that just a little bit. And I want to continue our service provider meetings. That has been very positive for the service providers as well as myself. And I want to do some continued discussion. Right now, it's kind of sort of a back and forth dialogue between Judge Underwood, myself, and Nikki Cahill to try to talk a little bit about starting teen court and drug court in the county. So I'm hoping that we can do that in light of the legislation with our juveniles and the age, becoming 18 pretty soon. So we really need to work on some ways to deal with what's going on, with drugs and with other problems. And I want to facilitate a partnership with the welding program and with the Furniture Academy this next school year. And I have started the dialogue for a partnership with Appalachian State, and they're actually going to send some artist interns into the school. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that as a rotation, and hoping the first one can be pottery. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Will that be similar to the program we've had this year, as far as I know the students were able to earn an art credit? Will we be able to do something consistently enough that they can earn a credit for this?
That's the dialogue right now. I'm gonna
Okay.
have to take a trip to Appalachian State in order to be able to try to get the rotation consistent. Mr. McMasters that was there last year, he was able to be consistent. He was able to be there, 1 week every month. And then we tied in the other parts to the curriculum to be able to make that an Art 1 credit. My hope is that we'll be able to make it an Art 2 credit or an Art 3D or something, because it's really hard, in that self-contained building to be able to get any kind of arts credits like that. So we're pushing to try to see if we can make that happen, and I'm hoping that we can. Mr. McMasters is still on hold. We have part of the money to be able to pay him for next year. If we can get that other piece, then we might be able to get him to come back, and that would be consistent.
You have two staff members with you tonight. Would you introduce Tricia and James, please?
Yes, I'm gonna have to partially introduce Bree too,
Okay.
because I still hold on to her.
Well, I'm
even
sorry
if
to
she's
say,
not in
she
the building.
was yours. She was
Yes.
yours. Okay.
So I still hold on to her just a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Tricia St. Clair, and she's my right hand, left hand, all positions. She really helps me so much. And Mr. Mays, James Mays, we worked together before, and I've been blessed to have him here, and he is doing a phenomenal job.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I just want to say I thoroughly enjoyed the art exhibit
Thank you.
and the pride those students took in their work.
I have to say one thing. They scoped out Sally, and they said, that lady's got money, she may buy the jewelry.
If they only knew.
Yeah, they got it right.
It was very funny. I said, go ahead, try. See what you can do.
You mentioned the homelessness. Is that very prevalent?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes, I had spoken with, and I haven't been able to speak with her for a while, but Kathy Jones had actually started to work on seeing what we can do. We had one student that remained homeless off and on for most of the school year. And at the end, it became such a vicarious issue that we really couldn't find him. And I finally heard a response from him, and he said, you know, I'm not going to be able to walk for graduation, but, you know, I graduated. So there's just a lot of confusion in the homes of the students we serve. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Thank
Anything
you.
else?
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you.
for the opportunity to talk to you.
Okay, our next report is the ACHS Freshman Academy update. I'll ask Ms. Bree Williams to come forward.
Okay. Hi, thank y'all. I was looking for a laser pointer. I was talking with Renee that my teacher side of me may come out because I'm going to want to go to the board, but I think I'm supposed to kind of hover here. Oh, there is a laser. I don't know if it's a laser. Okay, it's a clicker, and there is a laser. That way I can try to be stationary. I can, yes, and I'll try not to shoot you with it. Thank y'all for letting me come in. I was asked to give kind of an update and a report on how the academy went this year. Overall, I think, and the reports that we've got is that it did go very well. A lot of folks shared that they thought it was a great initiative and that we've done some really great things and built some great relationships. And we've got a really good start on the program. So this is our first year. We are learning. There are adjustments to be made. I've got some that I'm going to share with you. The data, it's first year, it's year one, and I think, you know, the effectiveness of the program we won't fully know until we get into it for a little more time. So I just wanted to share a little bit of the background, like why do a freshman academy, just a refresher. Because ninth graders are the ninth grade year is a very significant year. There's a lot that goes on, and the success of a ninth grader largely determines whether they'll graduate or not. Data shows that. An academy can help create a smaller school environment. In working with freshmen for the past 13 years, and in the classroom, more so the 12 years before this past year, you know, it's a big deal coming to the high school. You know, it's a huge environment, and they're scared to death, deer in headlights, so trying to make this a smaller environment and give them some more transition efforts. And then there's new things that they face, like smart lunch and longer classes, and so it's just to help them. It's largely an MTSS initiative, and there's lots of kids, and we've talked about this, and I shared with Mr. Palmer today. You know, we have done a lot of focusing on at-risk kids, but often that's the kids that they do require a lot of attention, and we need to focus on. But one of the changes that we want to have for next year is to do some more focusing on the higher flying kids, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So how is this good? It eases the transition, personalizes the experience of school, decreases the likelihood they'll fall through the cracks, and I've got some teachers to share some information about that, and then helps prepare them for the rest of high school. So getting into the data, I looked and updated this from the last year's presentation, and it's still consistently staying about 23% of the kids coming in are considered at risk for dropping out. This year it was, I think, like 22.9. It was very close to the 23. Retentions have dropped over the years. I've got the totals of how many kids were actually retained each year out of how many kids were in each class each year, and it's kind of dropped. And the class sizes has dropped, but retentions is also, the amount has dropped to about 3% for this past year, the past 2 years. Ninth grade dropouts, I've got data for exactly how many students dropped out each year and about the percentage. We did have less dropouts, and because I've been privy to some data the past couple of years, I made this a little more specific. And we had 4 kids out of the ninth grade academy. So when we look at the data, a lot of it that we pull from Power School, it also has SSC, and then it has like repeaters. And so going through and then like really getting to how is the academy, there was 4 students out of the 10 that dropped out, and the that were considered a ninth grader were actually true ninth graders. And so it was actually only 1% of the kids, and so I feel like that's a pretty small number. I know there's a lot on this screen. Looking at the failures, how many courses were failed this year and how many students were failing those courses. I feel pretty good about the second semester data with that after we were really getting into this and our teachers were really get a grasp of what was going on. I feel pretty good that we went from 53 courses being failed the first half of this year to 33 courses being failed in the second half of the year. We had some successes with some students that were able to suppress some grades. We have a thing that's called course suppression. If you're not familiar with it, a student can repeat a course that they have failed. If they pass it, it suppresses that first go around, and now they get credit for it, and it just wipes away kind of the credit that they failed. And so we had some kids who were able to do that. We offered credit recovery for a student who was we felt mature enough to handle that on his own individually, and he was able to recover a credit that he had lost first semester. Our discipline data, I'm hoping will improve for next year. There was an improvement from first semester to second semester with incidents, but comparing it to last year, you know, that we had as many office referrals, or actually more, and so I'm hoping that is something that will improve. One discipline effort that we did put into effect this year is a PBIS initiative. It's called Bounces. And what a bounce is if a student gets in trouble in a classroom, a teacher can bounce that student to a classroom across the hall or next door. And it's a classroom handled discipline procedure to save them from having to go to the office. So it's like, it's not quite as serious as going to the office, but it's something that shouldn't happen. It's something that needed to be addressed in the classroom. And so I've got together some data, and the number of bounces did decrease from first semester to second semester. It's scaring me, it's flashing. And so I asked some of my teachers who worked in the academy for some input, and so I did get some quotes from them. Forgive me, but I will read them because they are quotes. The relationships we build in the academy make for a stronger foundation that in turn makes it easier to be successful. Through the academy, I was able to build stronger relationships with the students than in the past. Often when these team conversations were put together, I don't know if I mentioned, but our teachers are teamed together and the students are teamed together. When these team conversations were put together, we realized we held valuable information that helped us to devise a more appropriate educational and life plan for students. I feel the beauty of the academy is that even though it was formed to improve academic results, it has improved the school culture as a whole. And then the last quote is, the critical time bridging middle school to high school is a traditional milestone transition in life. Freshman Academy is the transition period that lays the foundation for success over the next 3 years of high school. It is not a job we take lightly, and we are proud to be a part of this pivotal moment in our young people's lives. And so we really have a strong team as a whole. We really have strong teachers in the academy, and I really believe, and a lot of teachers have made a lot of comments, even outside of the academy, that we're doing good things to help our freshmen get a good start. And so any adjustments or changes for next year, one change is in lieu of the back-to-school bash, a separate one. Our teachers, we voted to offer the back-to-school bash during the regular open house with the whole school. One complaint in the past was by the freshmen coming up at a separate time, they weren't able to meet their elective teachers because the elective teachers are there, you know, during the whole school open house. So what we're going to do is create some initiatives and specific meetings for freshmen with their homeroom or seminar teachers during the open house. And then the parents really shared that they like the school tours, and so we are going to continue that. So they're going to have a meeting with their seminar teacher at an assigned time, which will be communicated to them. The teachers are going to come in and call each student's home to invite them to this, and also let them know their invited time. And then the teacher's going to take the parents on a tour as well, so they can learn the school. We're streamlining our team teacher meetings, and we're going to branch out to elective teachers. We heard some information that it's kind of been going out that, like, some of our teachers who teach electives, they're kind of not in the loop about all the things that we talk about each student, and we're hearing that they want to know. They want to hear, they want to be part of this. They want to know how to help the student as well. And so we're gonna branch out our team meetings to better communicate what's going on with our students. And then we also, like I talked about, we wanna reach out to some of the more higher flying students. We've talked about like a leadership, committee or group of students. And we've also talked about potential college or post-secondary training visits. I really liked how Ms. Charles was doing that with SSC, and I think it would be a great thing to do is take some of these kids on some of these tours and trips that they can learn about how school can help them in the long run. And that's what I got. Any questions?
I'd like to add, because I'm a parent of a
Okay.
freshman academy
Yes,
student, and we really enjoyed, as a parent, I enjoyed it this year.
Good.
I think Evan did too. I think it was helpful for students, calmed some nerves, and did a good job, and I'm sure these things are just gonna make it even better.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Bree,
Yes,
one
ma'am.
thing about the bounce, I guess, option that I learned from
Mhm.
you when we talked a little bit before you had compiled a lot of data,
Mhm.
is that there's a written reflection piece
Yes.
also. Like
Yes.
if you get bounced to another teacher's classroom, you have to write about how, I guess, you could have handled that differently to avoid that.
Mhm.
Talk to the group a little bit about that, because I think reflection with some of the impulsive behavior is a good thing, but talk to us
Right.
about how that worked.
Surprisingly, we got really good input from that too.
Really?
Yes, for the most part. There were some students who, of course, put some answers that they obviously did not take ownership of their behavior.
They
But-
didn't reflect as deeply as others? Okay, okay.
But honestly, it's surprising. So if a student gets bounced from that one classroom to another, there was a form, it was an automatic, where the bounce desk was set up in that classroom, there was forms already there, ready for the student. They go in, they automatically get the form and start working on that so that they don't disrupt the classroom that they've been put into. And they have to answer things like, what was the behavior that caused me to be bounced, to this classroom? How could I have handled this differently? How has this affected, people other than myself? Things like that. And it honestly, surprisingly, we also had another reflection. The first semester of the year, we ran our own lunch detention within the academy, and they had to do a reflection form for that too, and for why they got lunch detention. And it's really honestly surprising. At least definitely from the beginning, the kids really did some real true reflection, and they were really taking ownership. A lot of them were, of course not all, but it was really rewarding, really just good to see that they were actually thinking about this, and hopefully that it did, get the wheels turning and thinking about, okay, well, what I did affect other people. But we did notice also, though, as the semester went on, and especially towards the end of the lunch detention, especially when you had several repeating offenders, the answers were not as in-depth.
And then one other thing I'd like for you to clarify, you
Yes.
said that almost 23% of this freshman class were deemed at risk. I am assuming you looked at the three big things that you would normally look at, such as attendance,
Mhm.
academic achievement, and discipline. Were those the
Yes.
three things that you looked at to determine that they were at risk?
Yes, we got more specific than that, but yes.
Okay.
The at-risk form is quite specific on, well, what is it about them, that makes them at risk, in addition to, and are they also tier 2 student, tier 3 already, middle school, where they pre-identified for those cases, or their attendance, of course, and their academics. But
Sure.
yes, we really get really good input from the middle schools. It's very helpful. We actually branch out and ask for information about every single 8th grader that comes into us. We ask about academic information, we ask about athletics, we ask about club interest. Are they a leader? Are they a good team player? And we really try to get to know these kids and focus, how can we help them the best? Yeah.
Good.
Yep. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Bree.
Okay, next, Dr. Hefner, will you share your monthly report?
I will. Board members, this is also attached within your agenda. I only have 6 bullets tonight. I'll try to make it fast. I wanted to let you know that workdays for 10-month non-certified employees for the upcoming school year will be August 21st, 22nd, 23rd, June 10th, and June 11th. The principals agreed on these dates at the principals meeting that we held in March, and these employees will only work 5 of the 14 teacher workdays scheduled in the calendar again this year. Also, I wanted to let you know that all school and central office leaders will be attending our annual leadership retreat. We will go to Boone the evening of July 31st and then be there working all day on August 1st and August 2nd. We will be at ASU again this year. The agenda and facilitators for the retreat are being finalized this week. I wanted to invite all of you to the new teacher orientation. It's scheduled for Monday, August 13th, beginning at 8 here at the Board of Education. And a special request is being made for the board chair to offer a warm welcome to that group. And Chairman Bowman, no pressure or anything,
Okay.
but if you could do that for us, that would be wonderful. I am also, I have shared on the agenda a list of meeting dates for the 2018-19 school year with each of you. Please note, if it has a red asterisk, that means that it falls on a day that's different from when we would have normally met. Look at November, it's Monday, November 5th. We made this change in the board meeting schedule because of the North Carolina School Board Association State Conference that's being held November 11th through 14th. And when we moved it back 1 week, that fell on the election day. That was Tuesday, November 6th. So we have set Monday, November 5th as the board meeting date for November. Also, there's an asterisk on the June date. And the reason that's been moved to Monday, June 3rd is because that allows us to meet before the high school's graduation, and it will avoid the town council meeting for board member Odom. I would just ask that you mark your calendars with all these dates. Let me know if you see any conflicts with any of them that maybe I didn't catch. And then I am planning to make these dates public to all school system leaders tomorrow. I'm going to share that document via email. Opening session for the 18-19 school year has been scheduled for Tuesday, August 21st, beginning at 8:30 at the auditorium. I would ask that you mark your calendars for that very special event. And then my last bullet is just, I would ask you to join me in congratulating Dr. Angie Charles. Angie successfully defended her dissertation at Wingate Satellite Campus in Charlotte last Thursday afternoon. Her dissertation was entitled, get ready for this, I won't even ask Angie to repeat it, it's so long, but this is what the title was. Evaluating and increasing the awareness of how trauma-informed educational practices in the alternative school setting impact students and help to build trauma-informed school communities. I was honored to be part of her dissertation committee, and I just want you all to know she did an amazing job. We hammered her for about 3 hours, and at the end of all that trauma, she was deemed Dr. Angie Charles, so congratulations to you. And I would open to any questions from board members. All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on to unfinished business, I'll call Ms. Sharon McCaffey up to your policy revisions.
I bring the 10 policies back that were presented to you in June for the first reading. I've had no comments, suggestions, questions, or changes. So I would ask that you approve those on the second reading.
Okay. Board members, if you have, is there a motion to approve the policy provisions and the second reading?
Move to approve on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any noes? And that carries. Thank you.
Thank you, and we were a little busy in the finance department in June, so we didn't get any new policies to you, but don't be disappointed, I have them for next month.
I'm sure. All right, we'll move to
Bowman. I come to you this evening, you do have an attachment in your agenda. I would just like to share some information with you about our universal breakfast program. I had spoken to the Budget Committee about this concern earlier when we started our meetings this spring, and I wanted to share the results with the entire board. Have you been able to open that attachment? I'm really just going to touch on the breakfast meals portion of the chart, but you can see it starts with a site ID number, and that's how each of our schools are identified. That's what that column means. Then you see the column of the total number of free breakfasts that were served at each site, the reduced breakfast served at each site, and then breakfasts that were served to what would have been paying students. But you know, with the universal breakfast, it's free to everyone, even paying students. And I want you to understand, Ms. Caudle wrote this at the bottom of this, but we are reimbursed $1.75 for each student who is qualified free or reduced for breakfast. We are only reimbursed 30 cents for a student that would be considered a paying student. So that leaves us with a deficit for a paying student. We actually are not reimbursed for them $1.45 per breakfast. If you look at the number of breakfasts that we served this year to what would have been paying students, 106,084 breakfasts. When you multiply that by the money we are not reimbursed for that breakfast, which is $1.45, you can see that we actually lost $153,822 with the universal breakfast program. Now digest that for just a moment. You know our current financial situation as a school system. And my conversation with the Budget Committee this spring was that my recommendation would be that we not continue this practice because of such a loss of revenue. So, Board Member Bowman, I guess I present this to you all with the request that I have a motion that we cancel the universal breakfast program. And what that means, as far as we will still continue to serve breakfast, just like we always have. Children who qualify for free and reduced breakfast, they still get that just the same as they always would. The only change is students who don't qualify for free and reduced would then be required to pay for their breakfast. But we do need action, Chairman Bowman.
All right. Board members, you've heard the motion. What's the pleasure of the board? As far as a recommendation to be
Move
presented?
to approve the recommendation.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion?
It's unfortunate that
It
we
is
have to do that. That's 106,000 breakfasts that we were able to serve, but I know that's about equivalent to what we supplemented, if I'm not mistaken, the nutrition program. Given our situation, I don't know that we can continue to do that. So, you know, I don't know how it was recorded. I did second the motion. I just wanted to make a comment for the record that it's just really unfortunate.
Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor of the recommendation, please say yes.
Yes.
Any noes? And that carries. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, Ms. McAfee, if you'll come back and discuss the bank deposits.
We are required to keep the board informed of where we deposit our money. Your board packet contained a list of the depositories that we use for that. I just need approval that you have seen it.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the bank depositories as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any noes? Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda, Mr. Harry Shrum will, got a recommendation from the Facilities Committee.
Yes, as you know, we've had lots of discussion over the past couple of years trying to come up with a plan, a long-term fixed solution for our early college, and the Facilities Committee, after a lot of discussion, a lot of looking at properties, this does not come lightly. Our recommendation is going to be that we construct our own facility, and our thought is that we have plenty of land right here, back in behind central office, and hopefully we could incorporate some of the facility at the high school, such as the gyms, and also make it easier for extra programs such as band and chorus to be incorporated back into the programs. I know it's available to students now, but it's become increasingly difficult to achieve, and we feel like that would be easier also. And we have the funding in our half-cent sales tax and lottery funds to do this, and we just feel like it's time to quit kicking the can down the road and move forward. I think the action that we would be looking for at this point would be for us to enter into discussions between Jason Evans and Dr. Hefner and the Facilities Committee for a basic layout, and then open for bids, an architectural firm with precedence trying to be taken on using a local architectural firm, and also if everything works as we hope, then also trying to give precedence to a local construction company. We think it's important for those dollars to be spent and kept here in the county as well as possible. And so that's our recommendation, is that we would like to move forward with the prospect of drawing a plan, like I said, with the guidance of Dr. Hefner and Jason Evans, and see where we're at dollar-wise. And like I said, we have a healthy fund balance with the half-cent sales tax and lottery funds. And I know it's really confusing to the general public that we have budget concerns in other areas, but we just have to keep in mind that those monies are for capital needs, and we cannot use those funds for teachers or supplement in that way. And I know that's very confusing, but that's the reality right now.
Okay, thank you. Board members, you've heard the recommendation from the Facilities Committee. I need a motion and a second.
Make a motion. We accept it as the Facilities Committee recommended.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any noes? Thank you, and that carries.
Thank you.
Thank you both for the hard work on that. I know it's been a lot of time. Okay, in pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11, North Carolina General Statute 143-318-117, the board will enter into closed session, which will be held in the boardroom after a brief recess. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any noes? Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Can you tell my grandkids?
Daughters with